So I've been thinking for a minute or two, not really sure how to introduce this video. It's, well, probably not the kind of video a lot of you guys want to watch at the moment, given the fact that, you know, SSDs, can't really buy those anymore. DDR5 memory, what the hell is that these days? And reasonably affordable, or at least should have been reasonably affordable graphics cards like an RTX 5070 Ti. Yeah, well, we all know how that's going. So, yeah, the boys went to the CES trade show in January. We were hoping to see some consumer electronics. You guys know how that went. It was mostly AI. And since then, things have only got more expensive, more difficult to buy, and we're all sitting around waiting for this AI thing to inevitably implode, and then we'll see what the hell happens then. Today's sponsor spot is brought to you by Insta360 and their brand new Link 2 Pro series, designed for high-end business users and professional creators, allowing for multi-person meetings, online education, live streaming, and content creation. Packing a new 1 1/3 inch sensor for brighter, clearer, and more detailed 4K video across all lighting environments, along with dual mics supporting AI noise cancelling. And of course, you're still getting all of Insta360's standard AI features, such as tracking and auto framing, but there's also the new AI tracking area feature that allows you to set a tracking zone, and once you step outside of that zone, the camera stops following, preventing unwanted camera movement and avoiding accidental tracking into private areas. Other new features include green screen and scene presets. The Link 2 delivers more accurate edge detection and smoother blending, producing a studio-grade chroma key effect when using the green screen, while scene presets have been dramatically expanded, allowing you to save preferred camera angles, visual effects, image settings, AI models, and virtual backgrounds. All of this can be had for $250 US, including a mini tripod for the first 20 orders, so check the link in the video description. So one thing we did see at the Consumer Electronics Show was, well, I guess I'll just get the box. What is almost certainly going to be a hideously expensive RTX 5090 graphics card. A very cool RTX 5090 graphics card, but probably not one that many of you will be interested in buying, given that your basic RTX 5090, if you can call any RTX 5090 basic, but your run-of-the-mill RTX 5090 is approaching double the MSRP, so I don't even know what this will cost. But yeah, MSI announced their first Lightning Z, or Lightning Z if you're in the US, graphics card for quite a few generations. The last time they did it was a 1080 Ti model, which I actually reviewed. Then they did a 2080 Ti, which I didn't get to review. And now we've got the 5090. So there's only going to be 1,300 of these made. Obviously, the pricing is going to be absolutely absurd. And it's kind of weird that we're reviewing it because it's not going to be a consumer-based review, and I did sort of question MSI about why they're actually even sending these out to reviewers. And basically it's just a product they're really proud of, so it's sort of an engineering achievement, and they just want to highlight, you know, what they can do, show that off. So it's one for the engineers, I guess, more than anything. And I'm sort of looking at it as kind of like a, you know, you watch Top Gear, for example, mostly because it's entertaining and funny, but they drive Ferraris and things you're not going to buy, and this is kind of like your Ferrari of graphics cards, I suppose. Not quite as cool, and, you know, it's not going to be as funny or witty as Top Gear because, you know, it's hardware unboxed, so we'll do what we can do. But speaking of that, a lot of you give feedback saying that we don't unbox enough things on the channel. You want to see more products unboxed because it is hardware unboxed, and we basically never ever unbox things. So this video will at least feature an unboxing, which we're about to do now. So at least that's happening. So, as I said, 1,300 of these will be made. This is one of them. I don't know what number. I guess we'll find out what number we have in a minute. And this big carton here, which I think that's actually the front there. This is what you'll get if you were to buy one, which, again, I don't think many of you will be interested in buying one. I certainly wouldn't buy one, if I'm perfectly honest. I'd be more of a 5070 Ti class type buyer, you know, 9070 XT, that kind of price range. I don't think I'd ever buy anything as crazy as a 5090, despite the fact that I can appreciate how impressive the 5090s are and how powerful they are. So anyway, box, this is what you get. This is the unboxing experience that the consumer would end up getting. So I guess you pull that out, you open that, I better use that hitting the microphone, and you're greeted with a bit of foam. You see that, Balin? Bit of foam there. So if we whip out the bit of foam, there is what looks to be 3 boxes. So I think I'll put this down. And it's quite heavy. Apparently it's 10.5 kilograms, and it's meant to be a 4 kilogram graphics card. So I'll grab out a couple of the boxes here, and we'll go through the smaller ones first. So we have an accessories box and a graphics card holder box. And the reason you have this box here is because you will want to vertically mount. Now, extreme overclockers who this is probably targeted at don't really care how they orient their graphics card. They're probably not going to be using a riser cable for their extreme overclocking. But if you were to buy one and you want to show it off in your build, you will want to vertically mount it rather than the more traditional horizontal mounting, because it has a giant screen on it, apparently, which
it's huge.
Balin says it has a huge, pretty awesome screen on it. So if we open this up, in here we have a lightning themed, just move that out of the way, mounting bracket, which should universally slot into pretty much all cases. Or yeah, I don't know how that goes actually, but that is something we'll check out. But you should be able to slot this into your case, and the graphics card sits there and it'll look out your window, and people will be like, ooh, you spent way too much money on your graphics card, but I hope you're happy with it, is probably how that'll go. So we'll put that over there. Now, accessories. What accessories would you get with a graphics card? You usually get like a power adapter, maybe a GPU stand. Not sure. It's a pretty big box. Anyway, we'll find out what we've got here. Right. So this isn't... Okay. This isn't what I was expecting, but there's some interesting stuff here. So this is a little plaque. Just thank you for choosing blah, blah, blah. Thanks for spending way too much money on your graphics card. Hope you enjoy it. So something to that effect. But it looks like, 5090 GPU, 32 gigabytes of GDDR7 memory. So that's kind of neat. So it's like a thin PCB of your really expensive graphics card. We have like a business card here. Wait your turn. Portal card, something, NFC. You've got a lightning business card, I think what that is. Got a keychain with a sort of a lightning Z on it. Maybe that'll make more sense later. What next? Okay, what do we got here? So these lightning themed things look to be magnets. So you can put them on the outside of your case so people know you've got some serious hardware in there. And then just lastly, on this top layer is like a miniature of the lightning graphics card. It's a little peel back here, but I don't think there's a mini screen there somehow. Just a plastic graphics card with some rubber things to represent or resemble the tubing rather, and then some fans. Hopefully the real fans sound a bit better than that. Cool. I guess you can put that on your desk as well to sort of signify that you spent, again, way too much money on your graphics card. Next layer. Yep, okay, it looks like we have some sensing pins here for probably voltages for various system critical aspects of the graphics card. As expected, we do have a sleeved 12 volt high powered adapter from 4 8-pins. So my understanding is the card actually requires 2 of these because you would definitely melt one. You know what I'm saying? But it's got 2. There's only 1 adapter though, because I would imagine your power supply has one of these already, like a native one, and then a lot of them probably don't have 2. Though you'd need quite a powerful power supply that probably does have 2. But if it doesn't, you can use the 8 pins to get your second connector there. So double trouble with that one. Some screws in a bag. Case screw. Maybe that's to help mount that. The Type A to Type C braided USB cable. I think that would be to connect the screen. on the graphics card. More screws. And a plastic GPU mount, which... Oh, okay, yeah, right. Okay. Feels a bit cheap because it is plastic. I think for a premium card like this, like an aluminium one would have been better. But maybe they make them out of plastic, so if it does rattle loose in your case or whatever, it won't short circuit stuff if you happen to not realize that it's gone moving around your case. So anyway, it's plastic, so make of that what you will. I don't know if it's... Oh, it does have a magnetic base, so that's pretty cool. Quite a strong one as well. All right, that's everything in there. So that's the accessories box cleared out. So there's some interesting / unique / useful things in there. Okay. Oh, let's get this. Yeah, it's... Oh, God. It's very heavy. It's very heavy. Okay, this is our graphics card. 4.1 kilograms just for the card. I'll move this out of the way. So, just get my breath back. 4.1 kilogram graphics card. Kind of an awkward package. I was picking up and this was sliding up, and I'm like, can you stop doing that? And now I can't. Am I ruining the unboxing experience before we actually unbox it? Oh no. Okay. Alright. Kind of ruining the box. Alright. Actually, that's... You getting that? You getting that B-roll, Balin? Yep, thanks. I think we have to take this off first. I actually want to get this out of my life. Okay. Alright, now, based on the design here... Yep. You didn't say anything, did you?
No.
Alright, cue the music. You ready? There we go. What was that? Oh, pretend you didn't see that. What are we seeing? I got the back of a radiator here. Alright, looks pretty good. I don't know if it's unwise to try and unload it that way. Well, that's an awesome looking graphics card. Alright, we'll close the box back up. So now you've got that to sit on your desk. Again, showing that you spent a lot of money on your graphics card.
Cool box.
Yeah. Is it worth like probably 7,000 Australian dollars? Because I hope so. The satisfying. People are like, don't do it. Yeah, you haven't installed it. All right. Pretend I didn't do it. That looks way better. All right. So this is the RTX 5090 Lightning Z from MSI. As I said, 4.1 kilograms for, I think that's for both of these things combined. So you've got the 360mm radiator, which houses fans and a radiator, which apparently has two different size fin densities, which it does. Half of it are larger than the other side. They're more densely packed here than they are here. And that's to assist in like the heat transfer from hot to cold, apparently. I know that much. So we'll obviously test all the thermals and that stuff shortly. This isn't going to be just an unboxing video. We wouldn't do that to you guys. We'll test the card out properly. Oh, hang on a minute. I'm just spotting something here, Balin. It's got some protective plastic, which I'll peel off, just so you can... This card has carbon fiber on it, and I'm led to believe it's real carbon fiber. So, we were talking about cars before. So maybe it's more Ferrari than I thought. That's carbon fiber highlights. But this one says limited edition hardware unboxed. So they've really gone all out on that. Yep. So that means it's mine and Tim can't have it. Because it doesn't say monitors unboxed. And then you got the carbon fiber on the back, which I guess we'll peel the plastic off to have a look at that. So yeah, those of you who are familiar with the Lightning Z stuff from MSI, they did a 1080 Ti Lightning Z, which I actually received and provided a fairly detailed review of on the Hardware Unboxed channel, so you can go back and check that out if you're interested. 1080 Ti is still going strong, so that was an impressive card. Then they did a 2080 Ti, which I did check out. They skipped the 30 series and the 40 series, so it's kind of a big deal for the 50 series. The Lightning Z is coming back. That's going to keep crackling away now for the rest of the video because I did that. But there's the full back plate. Again, real carbon fiber. So Yeah, on a graphics card. Who would have thought? So this is how you go from the OC BIOS to the extreme BIOS. So it has dual BIOS, which probably won't shock many of you. By default, it ships in the OC mode, which is an 800 watt BIOS, and then you can flick it across to a 1000 watt extreme BIOS. So that's a thing. And then, correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I heard Tim say this in his video and I haven't confirmed that with MSI yet, but I'm pretty confident there's a 2500 watt extreme overclocking BIOS, which you can get if you request it. So
directly from MSI.
So you've got to, there must be a way to contact MSI and something, but you've got to request that. I think Tim was saying you have to sign an NDA, that you're not going to like leak it online. If you do, they'll come after you and your family. Our NDAs always say stuff like that. So I'm sure that's, anyway, I think, that'll be for the guys that probably take this cooler off. Because I'd say this cooler's probably only rated up to the 1000 watts. I don't know. We'll get all the facts in a minute when we tear the card down and go through the usual review format, but we thought we'd do this unboxing part first because, well, it was supposed to be a pretty interesting unboxing, some stuff there, and I thought it was worth doing. So I think rather than me just waffle on about stuff that I haven't yet properly researched and tested, we'll go away, we'll test the card first, and then we'll tear it down and have a good look at what's inside it. Then we'll show you all of the results, and then we'll end the video. So let's go do that. Okay, so we've now seen what the card looks like, so I won't go over all of that, but before we tear it down, I just want to cover a few specifications and look at a couple of things that we weren't able to look at in the unboxing that closely. For example, the card weighs 2,673 grams, and the radiator and fans weigh an additional 1,293 grams. Then in terms of dimensions, the card is 260mm long, 151mm tall, and 61mm wide. So although this is a liquid-cooled graphics card, it's a bit of a thick boy. The radiator also measures 394mm long, 120mm tall, and 56mm wide, which is pretty typical dimensions for a 360mm radiator. There are two 12-volt high-powered connectors, and as we saw, the card does come with a single adapter with 4 8-pin inputs, and it's worth noting that the card will not post if you try and use an adapter with 3 8-pin inputs or even less. So that means you do require all 4 8-pin PCI Express power connectors, and MSI recommends a 1600 watt power supply. Now, something that I don't love about the Lightning Z is one of its key design features, the large 8-inch display. Because MSI didn't go with an OLED screen, the image looks a bit washed out, and the screen itself doesn't blend very well into the card. MSI told us they considered OLED technology, but it got too hot for this application, so there were technical reasons for why they didn't use it, but be as that may, it's still very disappointing on such an extremely premium product. But much worse than the screen type used in my opinion is how the screen functions or how it's implemented. MSI uses a USB display method for all of their products that feature a screen, like the MPG Core Liquid P13 for example. So even if you want to show something like a static logo, a GIF or whatever, it still has to run as a display that Windows 11 then treats as a standard monitor. So if you're only running one monitor, for example, with this graphics card, or if you're using the Core Liquid P13, your system would now think you have two screens, and it's very annoying. You can't simply upload an image, animation, or video to the device like you can with a product such as the Trix Panorama SE360, for example. And this is a huge problem, as your mouse will often end up on your graphics card screen, presumably inside your computer case, and you can even accidentally drag Windows onto the graphics card screen, so that's fun. And as a real-world example, my daughter has a Core Liquid P13 in her PC, and she got so annoyed with her mouse disappearing onto the tiny AIO screen that we ended up having to unplug the USB, so now it's just a black orb. MSI really does need to come up with a better solution, again, much like what we see from Trix with their liquid coolers. But if this USB display issue is not an issue for you, then the screen on the graphics card might be of interest. And it can show some useful operating statistics, amongst other things, via the Lightning Hub. Moving on from the screen, the included universal vertical mount works really well, though be aware you do require a computer case that has a completely open expansion area once the brackets are removed. Older style cases have reinforced brackets, which you would need to cut out in order to use the vertical mount, or just get a different case. But of course, this information is really only useful to the handful of people who are going to buy one for gaming. Now, taking the card apart is fairly straightforward. At the rear, there are 7 screws, and when removed, the backplate lifts off, and we find thermal pads behind the power connectors and GPU. The 246 gram backplate is made from aluminium, but to spruce it up, MSI has added some carbon fiber pieces. They don't really do anything, other than make it look pretty cool. Now, removing the backplate reveals the coolest looking graphics card PCB that I think we've ever seen. It's a shame though that you won't ever see this. That is, if you happen to be lucky enough to own one of these things to begin with. Anyway, after removing an additional 10 screws and then 2 from the I/O panel, the PCB lifts off the cooler cold plate. And now we can take a really good look at MSI's technical wonder. So here we are, a binned GB202 die, front and center, flanked by GDDR7 memory on all sides, surrounded by enough power stages to make Buildzoid weak at the knees. I guess if you're going to give people the option of a 2500 watt BIOS, you probably do need to include 40, 50 amp power stages, and then liquid cool all of them for good measure. As for the cooler, it's pretty straightforward, but also incredibly well designed and made at the same time. As noted earlier, the cooler cold plate contacts not just the GPU die, but also the GDDR7 memory chips, as well as the power stages and chokes. So it really is full card cooling. The result of which is very impressive, and we will look at that in a moment. Finally, the pump sits on top of the cold plate, and then we have the power for the fans inside the sleeving of the water tubes. So it's a very neat and tidy design that results in no additional connectors. So that's about as much as we can tear down without removing the liquid, so I think we'll stop there. It's time to check out the results, which were of course recorded before tearing down the graphics card. So let's go have a look. After letting the Lightning Z warm up for an hour in an enclosed ATX case, these are the results. We're looking at a peak GPU temperature of just 54 degrees, which is incredibly impressive when you consider the fact that the cores are clocked at 3 GHz, while the fans are rotating at a whisper-quiet 1000 RPM. These are without doubt the best results we have seen from an RTX 5090. Using the 1000 watt BIOS, which has the same default characteristics as the 800 watt BIOS, I was able to overclock the cores to a stable 3.25 GHz, around 200 MHz higher than other 5090 samples that I've tested. Of course, having tested a sample size of 1, I can't speak for how other Lightning Z models will overclock. As always with overclocking, your results are going to vary, but MSI has stressed that the Lightning Z series is based on hand-picked silicon, so these are bin dies, the absolute cream of the crop. For this overclock, I maxed out the fan speed at 2300 RPM, and this allowed for a peak GPU temperature of just 45 degrees, while the memory peaked at 52 degrees. The GPU consumed on average 550 watts during this testing in The Last of Us Part 1, which is surprisingly low, so I ran a few other games. As another example, power draw averaged 770 watts in A Plague Tale Requiem, and this pushed the GPU temperature up to 52 degrees and the memory to 60 degrees, which is still incredibly low given the power usage. I have recorded power usage in 3 games using external tools, so we will look at that data soon. For now though, let's compare the temperature data of the Lightning Z to other previously tested RTX 5090 models. Okay, so here's a look at how the Lightning Z compares to some of the other RTX 5090 graphics cards that we've tested. The stock configuration saw it delivering a similar GPU temperature to that of the Supreme Liquid, though it did run quieter and the cores clocked 6% higher. Then when compared to the air-cooled models, the Lightning Z ran at least 11 degrees cooler, but again was much quieter and did clock higher. So once we noise normalize the results, we see just how impressive the Lightning Z really is, running 4 degrees cooler than the Supreme Liquid, while again clocking higher. It also ran 14 degrees cooler than the Aorus Master, a massive 20 degrees cooler than the Supreme SoC, and a whopping 28 degrees cooler than Nvidia's FE model, while also clocking 14% higher. Now, because the copper cold plate also directly contacts the GDDR7 memory on the Lightning Z, temperatures are much lower than that of previously reviewed RTX 5090s. Out of the box, using the stock configuration, the memory on the Lightning Z ran 8 degrees cooler when compared to the Supreme Liquid and Aorus Master. But when we noise normalize the results, it ends up an incredible 12 degrees cooler at just 52 degrees. Very impressive stuff. Looking at power consumption, stock the Lightning Z is very typical, despite clocking higher than other models tested. So that is to say we're looking at similar power draw, and please note we are including power consumption for both the graphics card and CPU, as this is more accurate when comparing power usage between GeForce and Radeon GPUs. Now, when overclocked, we are seeing up to a 16% increase in power consumption for the Lightning Z, though some of that figure includes the CPU, so percentage increase for just the GPU would be slightly higher. The point is, you will want a good PSU if you plan on overclocking this beast. Now, when it comes to FPS performance, the Lightning Z is impressive, matching our custom overclocks for the ROG Astral, Supreme SoC, and Supreme Liquid. And that's the stock performance for the Lightning Z, making it 7% faster than Nvidia's FE model. Certainly not an amazing uplift, but that's just graphics card overclocking for you. There was a bit more headroom though, and I squeezed an additional 6% out of the Lightning Z in this test, reaching 187 FPS on average, a 13% boost over the Nvidia FE model. Again, not exactly mind-blowing gains, but it did achieve this while remaining cool and quiet, so that in itself is mighty impressive given the power draw. Testing in Spider-Man 2, I found that stock the Lightning Z was actually able to beat the manual overclocks of other RTX 5090s that we've tested, though the custom Lightning Z overclock only boosted performance by a further 4% in this example, which resulted in a 15% increase over the Nvidia FE model. Well, that really was something, wasn't it? And I hope looking at this unique limited edition RTX 5090 hasn't upset anyone. We do realise you can't buy these things anywhere near the MSRP right now, and unfortunately you're probably not going to be able to again. And even the mid-range to entry-level models are in shambles, so it's not a fun time, we get it. So to be clear, this is not buying advice or anything of the sort. Instead, my interest here was to see what could be done with the world's fastest gaming GPU when the restrictions are removed, and not just what could be achieved with a near unlimited power budget, but also what MSI's engineers could produce with a near unlimited budget. And the results are impressive to say the least. When sucking down nearly 800 watts in our testing, it was possible to run the Lightning Z at temperatures lower than most RTX 5090s produce when stock, and they did this while generating a similar level of noise. Not only that, but we've already seen that when in the hands of extreme overclockers, the Lightning Z has managed to break 19 world records, though this wasn't achieved using the included liquid cooler, of course. For that, liquid nitrogen is required. So, the Lightning Z is certainly an impressive product, but it's also a limited edition product that realistically no gamer should buy. That is, assuming that money's still a thing for you, something that you have to consider in any capacity. And that's because MSI tells me the MSRP is $5,090 US, which has to be a bit of a piss take, as us Aussies would say. So $50.90 US for an RTX 5090. Sure, why not? And that works out to be 8,800 Australian dollars. That's if you want to buy one locally. It's about the same money as a well-used 10-year-old Volkswagen Golf. So, on that note, I think we'll end the video here. 2026 is yet to let us down. A 5090 for $5,090. Makes perfect sense, I guess. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe, and I haven't really got much more to say on this one, other than thanks for watching. I'm your host, Steve. See you again next time.